Here we go. All right, as I was saying, so Bethany is here to give us a few updates, talk a little bit about where this process started and, what is happening currently, and just to, give us a little bit of that background and talk about what's going on for going forward and how we can, work on talking to the school board and, what the next steps are. So I will turn the floor over to Bethany and give her a chance to let us know what's going on.
Thank you. So my instructions were to talk and then to sorry, my dogs of course started barking as soon as I started talking.
They always do.
And that we can also of course follow up. But it sounds like you guys have a full agenda tonight. So Jody suggested we not do a whole bunch of Q&A. So I'm gonna just so hi, it's great to see everyone, except I'm really just looking at my face on the screen and from a very old picture of me. And just wanted to just tell you a little bit from my perspective of sort of where we are with this whole process that we've been engaged in. And first of all, I am the liaison. I am the chair of the board, but I'm the liaison to ACC this year. I also have been an Arlington Tech parent. My daughter was there for ninth grade and half of 10th grade, and she's now a junior at Wakefield. So I have the perspective of having been an Arlington Tech parent and been over there quite a bit. I also, in my days before being on the school board, I was very active with ACTL. I chaired ACTL, but I also sat on the CTE advisory committee for 2 years. So I just generally have a fairly high level, I guess, of familiarity with ACC, with Arlington Tech, with Grace Hopper Center, and all of that. The past year and a half, I've been the board liaison, also to the staff group that has been working on the programmatic planning for the Grace Hopper Center, mostly focused on the CTE programs in Arlington Tech. So I've been in and out of those conversations over the past year and a half. So I did share a slide, which I'm guessing is next on the list, if you want to jump to
Yep.
that quickly. This is something for you all to have for reference later on. But
And
I
those
wanted to
are those are linked, and we do send the slides out after
right.
the call,
Yes.
so those links are
Perfect.
live for people to be able to reference.
Right. So these are just some of the resources that outline for me again. So I'm just going to sort of talk about this from my perspective, being on the board, was about sort of two different planning processes that have been going on at the same time over the past year or two. So, and they were not really directly related to each other, certainly when they started. If you go back to November of 24, staff gave a presentation to the board explaining about our different non-traditional programs and sort of explaining to us the need to look at those programs, look at the strengths they have, who they serve, the challenges that they have with different aspects of the programs, and determine if anything would be desirable to help improve outcomes for those students. And so then a year later, they came back to us with a presentation that showed recommendations and for what they would like to change based on a whole set of work that they'd done over the past year. At the same time, in the spring of 2024, we began working on the question of sort of what do we need to do to prepare for the move to Grace Hopper. Staff presented about that in September of 24, and then provided us with an update this past November, based on all the work that had been happening in terms of that staff working group, and also working with sort of marketing and website consultants since I guess since that summer of 25. So one of the so even though these were sort of not connected, they wound up coming together in November in a sense, because in the planning process for the non-traditional secondary programs, a recommendation sort of started to emerge that there was that relocation of some of the programs would better meet the needs of the students in them. And so some of them would be sort of aligned with the umbrella and mission of Arlington Community High School, and some of them would sort of be aligned and maybe in a cluster or something with the Langston program. And I have to say, in attending, in reviewing those materials in November and attending those work sessions, there was definitely a theme that one of the challenges that staff were hoping to solve for the Langston kids was being closer, physically closer to the CTE programs, and that there's some wraparound services for students that could be delivered better if Langston and some other programs were co-located. I should say, work sessions are not, nothing is decided at a work session. And a work session is what it sounds like. It's time when we, the board, work with the superintendent and the staff to hear information, get clarity about things, ask lots of questions. Often we flag things that we want to, further follow up on from staff or from the superintendent. Sometimes it feels a little bit like they generate more questions than they answer. Work sessions, so it's not an end point. It is what it sounds like. It's a work session for us with staff. So I think the other thing that I should say is that my understanding as we went through this, and because I'm very familiar with Arlington Tech and CTE, and I was been on this liaison to this staff working group, I don't think there was ever any question that we were intending to move forward with the planning for Arlington Tech that we'd sort of had all along, the vision of growing to, something in the neighborhood of 1,000 students, continuing to have the dual enrollment programs, continuing to have, the CTE electives. And that was, it came as a little bit of a surprise to me how many people began to question or get confused on those points and have questions about it. Because I think really what I was hearing was that there weren't really substantial changes being made to Arlington Tech, aside from we were sort of trying to carve out having a dedicated principal, and that there would be a slightly different variety of other programs located in the Grace Hopper Center than had originally been envisioned, or then another way to say it, than are currently located at ACC. But still having all the same elements to Arlington Tech as it has now. So I realized that was not clear. I mean, that clearly was not clear. It was clear for me. It was not clear for others. And, that's something that I, sort of fully can say, okay, like we'll look at that. And, but I think that, again, the work sessions gave us the opportunity to sort of figure out, okay, well, what are all the different kinds of questions that we have? And then we've gotten lots of advocacy, which has been great because we've heard from people with what questions you all have and what, and others, and that's been really helpful. So a different question that came up, and I know probably has also been of concern for people, was the question about sort of what's the governance authority of the board versus the operational authority of the superintendent. We have a policy that is sort of in this particular circumstance is a little ambiguous. So and that happens sometimes. We have 185 policies that govern the school system. And out of 185 policies, some of them are invoked like every single day, and some of them are only invoked on a very occasional basis. And so sometimes it happens that a policy that was originally written because of some need or some set of considerations 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 years down the road, something is now, we're saying, well, this would be the policy that applies. and we discover, oh, well, now with these circumstances, there's some ambiguity here about what we mean. We do review our policies on a regular basis. They're all supposed to be reviewed a minimum of every 5 years. But that doesn't mean that a policy might not get reviewed. Say it's fine. 4 years later, it's now been in place 9 years, and now it's applying to something, and there's some questions about it. Um, so we just work our way through those things if they come up. I would say generally, I would maybe cautiously say, I think that the board right now is sort of inclined to interpret the policy with a certain degree of erring on the side of having the board approve things versus, in this instance, versus the superintendent, just making a decision. But I don't really know that for sure until I see where we land in terms of the specifics of what's being proposed, right? So I think that we are not going to necessarily vote specifically on what was presented in November, because that was presented in a work session. And like I said, that's not like the final product. So I think it's not going to be like no changes at all. It's going to be something in between, is my guess. And basically, I think, we're back from break. We're turning our attention to this topic. Frankly, prior to the break, we were very focused on trying to finish the CIP direction, which we really had to vote on in December. And so that was taking a lot of time and attention. We were, getting advocacy in. We were, listening to what was coming in. We were trying to, submit questions to staff for things that we want to know more about, or different, ideas that we had. And I think now over the next, week or two, we will really be very focused on this topic. So I am guessing, I think the plan at the moment that we will have some kind of presentation from staff at the January 22nd school board meeting. It's possible that it wouldn't be until the February 5th board meeting. It depends a little bit on just sort of how many questions we still have, or how many, how far away we are from having something that is, staff are ready to put forward in a formal sense. There does have to be, there's a certain impetus to anytime that we're making changes anywhere in the system that involves like staffing and students' class schedules and, course requests and things like that. There's this sweet spot by about March. We have to have made the decisions about those things for the fall. So we do have a little bit of a time crunch. I think it's less really about the Arlington Tech students, because that will all just flow. It will be about, frankly, it'll be about our other students in our non-traditional programs, which might be moving around, or where things may be changing a little bit for them. That's actually the population who probably needs us to be moving quickly or more quickly. So, I think basically, we're working on this right now. We're going through all the feedback that and the input that we've gotten. I think there will be something either January 22nd or February 5th, and then, presented to us for information. And then it's always the gap till the next board meeting, and then we actually take a vote on things. And during this time period, we also will answer any lingering questions we have about what elements of all of this we need to vote on versus what elements of it really fall within the operational decisions that the superintendent makes. And, I'm happy, first of all, I'm happy if you want to reach out and, if you have something specific, if you want to shoot me an email, of course, you're welcome to do that. I'm happy to stay in touch with Jody over the next week or two and, let her know sort of what the timeline is looking like, and when you all can expect to see things posted, for a board meeting, or if anything changes. So that's it.
Thank you so much. We really
Sure.
appreciate your time and the updates and, everything that there's another slide here if you want to go to the next slide, Shayna. Um, just with
Yes.
some info exactly on how to contact you, the board, et cetera, and some
Yes.
more information on these upcoming dates, as you mentioned, the January 22nd board meeting and some other office hours for not
Yes,
yourself, but some of your other colleagues that
right.
are having some open office
Yes.
hours. And
Right. And
we,
when you come speak with one person in open office hours, you're really coming to speak with all of us because
Mhm.
we share in a formal sense, we share everything that comes to us during open office hours with everybody and with the superintendent. So,
Right. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so
sure.
much for
Yep.
joining us, Bethany.
I hope I can come back sometime.
Absolutely. Under other
Yes,
circumstances,
when we can
exactly.
actually engage a little bit more, but I appreciate
Yes.
it. And I know that you are, I'm sure you are all very excited to hear from Steve Stricker. So
Yes.
I won't get in the way of that.
Have a quick update as well from Dr. Van Laer.
Hi, everybody. Mine's really, really quick. I just want to thank ATAC for the help with Tactastic. That was the day before break. And because of the parents and the families' donations, we donated over 2,500 pounds of food to AFAC a couple of days before Christmas and for that break across the holidays. So we are appreciative of everybody who gave, and then kids were able to complete construction, and we had the winners for second and third, and we had snacks delivered to all the archers groups because of ATAC and your donations. So thank you so much for that. You made the day um, as a celebration. We had alumni day today. I got to see Shayna's son, and I got to see Sam's daughter, and I got to see a whole group. There's a picture on the bottom of a whole group of them. So it was fun. Lots of hugs, lots of smiles, lots of laughs. It's really great to see everybody. And most importantly, we got to capture some great alumni stories about how well everybody's doing and what they're doing, different paths that people are taking. So that was fun to get those videos and those and that information. Drop-in math tutoring Tuesdays and Thursdays after school. If you have a student who's in NHS, these are volunteer hours for students in NHS. And if you have a student who wants help with math, please stop Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mr. Saul and Mr. Zualo are also there. So the upper level maths can be taken care of by our teachers. And then the NHS students are ready for particularly freshmen who are getting ready for that Algebra 1 SOL. We also have Saturday drop-in math from 9 to 12 this Saturday and next Saturday leading up to the SOL. So if anybody wants to use it, and again, that's for any math level, not just Algebra 1. And Mr. Saul and Mr. Zwalla, or Dr. Mr. Zwalla are usually there on Saturdays as well. It should say January 21st, not January 1st. Sorry about that. January 21st is the Algebra 1 SOL. We have a small group of students that are taking that. And that's the kids that are in the blocked Algebra 1 and geometry. So just want to put that on people's calendar if your student is in the Mr. Mann's Algebra 1. And January 29th, our quarter two ends. This is the longest quarter of the year. It goes on and on. But um, that means that we don't have school on January 30th for a grading day. So I just want to make sure people have that on their calendar. Thank you.
I've been muting myself because I'm still coughing. Thank you so much, Dr. Van Laer. Appreciate it. Now we can hear from Sam with a treasurer's update.
Hi everyone. So the biggest update that I have for everyone, it's not really an update, it's a plea. So from looking at this, you can see we have a lot of money that has not been spent. And we have money set aside for these different areas. Um, to to have money reimbursed for any function or area that falls within this, work with my recommendation is to work with one of the liaisons or call us and find out what area that you're connecting to and collect those receipts and turn in a form. We do have a form that we require so that we can make sure that we're keeping track of where money is going out to and how money is distributed. It includes like, do you want money to come back in a Venmo? Do you want to come back in a check? How should we distribute that money back to you? So I cannot express it enough. I actually have had a couple of people send, very recently actually, send receipts in without the form, and I really can't distribute funds without the form. So please, please, please use the form. If you don't know what form I'm talking about and you need reimbursement, call me. email me. I will send you the form. It's not a problem. And we will get approval to have those reimbursements. But things are going really well. We have a lot of funds to help throughout. In the second half of the year, first half of the year is when we collect funds. Second half of the year is usually when we start to really spend the funds. So we're going to have a lot of different parties coming up or events for the kiddos and different grants that are happening in teacher appreciation times. So I'm looking forward to spending all that wonderful money that you all have donated to our wonderful organization for our kiddos. Appreciate everyone's support. How'd I do, Joni? Did I miss anything?
That was awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And Michelle Van Laer, Jana came home. She was like, I got to see all the teachers. I got to see Miss Van Laer. She was so excited. Good day.
Super.
A good day.
Thank you so much. So, as I mentioned, we are going to put together our own little working group. Bethany talked about working groups. We're going to put a little working group together of our own to support this proposal effort. So, where everybody's really been pretty anxious and excited to help out and what can we do to advocate for our school and for the Langston school, frankly. We want to do what's best for all of our students, APS students. A lot of you have really voiced a lot of different opinions about what's going on with this proposal, and we want to capture that. So we're going to have a call next week, Wednesday the 14th, 7 p.m. This is a link here at the bottom here. We can also put it in the chat if one of you all could capture that link. One of my co-hosts could capture that link, put it in the chat. We'll send this out again as well throughout the week. And through the WhatsApp groups and things like that to get this out across all the different channels. But if you are interested in supporting the cause, maybe it's organizing emails to the school board, if it's other ways to advocate, going to those office hours, signing up for the office hours, signing up to speak at the school board meetings that Bethany mentioned that are coming up. Any different ways that people have ideas to get our message out there of what we want to see for our school, for the Grace Hopper Center. We want to circle the wagons and get everybody involved and really spread the wealth so that it's not just myself and a few other select individuals doing this, that we can really get everybody involved and a different knowledge base of people who maybe know how to do this better than myself. So we really want to get everybody involved, and whoever is interested is welcome, more the merrier. So again, Wednesday, January 14th, 7 p.m. We'll have a quick Zoom call, shouldn't be long. And, we're all going to try to join together to Yes, we will send it to the WhatsApp groups. Yes, I saw that in the chat. So we're going to send it to the WhatsApp groups. We'll send out different emails, to different groups that we want to make sure that everybody has this link. This call will be posted as well. I post this up on YouTube. We post the slides so that people can come back and reference this link as well. So we'll get this out there. Don't you worry. But mark that on your calendar for next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. for our working group. A few other events coming up next week as well. The 12th, we have another session. This is more for recruiting, but if you have some friends that are interested in Arlington Tech that are applying, we have our last session, Arlington Tech Ask Me Anything series. These have been great. We have alumni come and speak about different aspects of Arlington Tech. The last theme is life after Arlington Tech. So they're going to be a couple of alums, students talking about their experience after Arlington Tech and what it's like. That is at 7:30 on Zoom. I have a different flyer if anybody is interested and knows somebody that is applying right now to Arlington Tech and needs that information. I'd be happy to provide it. And February coming up, February 12th, is our next Off the Pike restaurant night. This is hosted by our culinary program, 4 o'clock to 7 p.m. in the Commons. Reservations are strongly encouraged because I will tell you last time, even though I had a reservation and I came late, they were out of some dishes. So get there early, get a reservation. It's really fun. And I'm not just saying that because my kid's in the culinary program. It's a great thing that funds their competitions. So it's a great night. And that is also the night of our meeting, I do believe, our next uh, uh, it's our February ATAC meeting, so maybe we'll switch it up and do something fun there. So stay tuned. And we're ready to talk to our guest speaker, or he's going to talk to us. Steve Stricker is the Senior Program Manager for APS Department of Design and Construction Services. Basically, he's the head honcho of the construction at Grace Hopper Center, and we are so excited to hear from him about the progress of our new school building and get a great sneak peek at what it looks like inside. So I would love to introduce you to Steve. Welcome.
Thanks, Jody, and good evening, all. Happy to be here to provide some information about the new construction and to answer any questions you guys may have. Do you mind if I share my screen? I have the exact same presentation, but it might be easier for me to navigate. Okay, let me go ahead and do that. Give me a minute. Let me know when you can see that.
Good to go.
Okay. So I'm going to start with the site plan. So this is the final site plan for the project. To get folks oriented, bottom of the page here is South Walter Reed, left 9th Street, top Highland, and to the right 7th Street. So the project itself is a three-phase project. We are in the first phase, started in summer of 2024. It ends in summer of 2026, this summer. And that first phase is construction of this new Career Center building, which I'm sure everybody has seen along the frontage of South Walter Reed Drive. The second phase of the project will occur after this building is complete, and we move the existing ACC folks over to this building. That gives us the ability to demolish the backside of the existing Career Center, where the shops are now on the south side, and build a 4-story, 345 space parking deck at the corner of South Highland and 9th Street South. Once that parking garage is built, and that's another year, so that's summer of 2027 when that would get turned over, we no longer need the surface parking lot that we have on site. And so at that point, starting in summer of 2027, we demolish the parking lot, remove the relocatables, and turn that into green space, basically an artificial turf play area. During that period of time, and that goes from summer of 2027 until the end of 2027, we also do some site work here, repaving the bus loop for both existing Career Center as well as MPSA. There's some additional landscaping that occurs as well. One thing I didn't point out, and I forgot to mention here for new ACC, of course, all the bus loops remain the same. We still have the same bus loop coming through for existing ACC that'll service new ACC. And the MPSA loop will stay here as well. We do have a service drive that comes off of that MPSA loop that services the receiving area for the new building in the back of the building here. And I also neglected to mention the front entry to the new ACC building is right across from Columbia Pike Library and just to the east of the existing entry for the existing ACC. So that's the main entry. There's also a north side entry here off of 7th Street, but the main entry will be here off of the bus loop. So that's the site. As I say, the new ACC building, we're looking to finish this summer. We are looking to have our certificate of occupancy from the county in late July so that we can actually do the move in the month of August from the existing building to the new. So I'm going to pull up the floor plan for this new building and walk through each of the 5 floors. Actually, before I do that, let me go to some of the renderings of the exterior, and I'm sure folks have seen the construction out there, so you're fairly familiar with what this is looking like. But real quick, this first rendering, upper left corner, you can see the bus loop here between the new building and existing ACC. This is the front entry that I was referring to. You can see it's a 5-story building. on the south side. It steps down to a 3-story on the north side, on the 7th Street side. It also kind of steps down towards the street, towards South Walter Reed, so it kind of reduces the massing up along the street. There's a view on the bottom here from the back side of the building from Highland, and so this shows that future artificial turf play field that we were talking about. This, of course, is that bus loop between the buildings, and you can see the back side of the building again, the 5-story mass, 4-story, and steps down to 3-story there. Lower right corner is the view from 7th Street. This is the north side entry. There is a pet relief area here off of animal science. We'll look at that when we look at the floor plans. Another view from 7th Street on the back side of the building. There is a tot lot here, and again, we'll look at that on the floor plans off of the early childhood program. And another view from the back side of the building, kind of an aerial view. These views also, I should point out, show some of the outdoor terraces and learning spaces. So there's 5 total. You'll see terraces here on the 2nd floor. There's 1. There are 2 on the 3rd floor. Another one here on the 3rd floor that's actually covered. And then there's a 5th one that's a courtyard up on the 5th level that we'll look at when we look at the floor plans. So let me go back to the floor plans here, starting with the 1st floor. And I'm gonna blow this up a little bit, and then we'll come back to the renderings. These are renderings, architectural renderings. They're not photos, so we're not quite to this stage in the project yet where we can photo the building to this extent, but that's what it will look like. So let me blow this up a little bit so we can walk through the floor plans. Okay, so level 1, I pointed out the main entry there, directly across from Columbia Pike Library, so that's here. As you walk in to that main entry, there is a large stair that connects, a freestanding stair that connects levels 1 to 2. There are 4 stairs throughout the building, 2 of which, stair 1 and stair 2, that go all 5 levels. And of course, the building steps down as you go to the north side here. So stair 3 and stair 4 only service 3 levels. There are also 2 group bathrooms on each of the first 3 levels. And they're kind of stacked above each other. So you'll see one here and one here on all the floors. On levels 4 and 5, the floor plan gets much smaller. So there's only 1 group bathroom on those floors. There's also 3 elevators in the building, 2 of which, located here, serve all 5 floors. The 3rd one over here on the north side only services the 3 floors. So walking through the spaces here, as you come in the main entry, to the right is the admin area and main reception area. To the left is the first of the CTE spaces, auto tech, auto body, and associated classrooms and storage rooms. Walking down the hallway here, there's a couple of physics labs on your right. And as we come down to this point, there's a ramp up as well as stairs up to the cafeteria, this hatched area here, and the kitchen area here. And there's the receiving areas back here, as I pointed out on the site plan. So for cafeteria deliveries, they would come right through here into the kitchen. The CTE spaces that are in the building are shown on this floor plan in blue. So we've got the construction lab here. We've got a flex lab suite here, electricity here, animal science suite, lab and classrooms here. That's that pet relief area, exterior pet relief area here off of animal science. The early childhood suite is in this location, and you can see that fenced in tot lot that I mentioned on the site plan here. And then there is a collaboration area, kind of an open area off the hallway on the north end here. So that's generally the first floor. Step up to the second. Okay, so the second floor, this is that freestanding stair, the top of that we looked at on the first floor. At the top of that is the library. There is a kind of a classroom block up on the top of the screen here. A couple of CTE spaces here. The culinary arts lab kind of anchors it in the middle. There's a clean lab up here on the upper left. The physical therapy suite, lab and classroom over here. Some general classrooms interspersed. There's another set of offices over here. As we come down the hallway, there is the health and PE suite, locker rooms, kind of in the middle here. This is, by the way, directly under the gym on the third floor that we'll see. Got some more general classrooms. The EMT suite here. Forensics classroom here. Additional science labs. General classrooms. There's some offices over here. Additional collaboration space, kind of breakout space off the hallway. And then a teacher collaboration space enclosed at the far north end there. So that's the second floor. Let's pop up to the third floor. And you can see all three levels. The first three levels are the full size of the building. You'll see for 4 and 5, they're a bit smaller. So on the third floor, kind of anchoring this classroom wing, on this side is the TV studio. The ROTC suite is over here. This is a little terrace, outdoor space. That's the covered one I showed on the site plan renderings. There's also a terrace over here and another one over here, outdoor terrace. So this terrace is off of what's called the MUPS, the multi-use performance space, which is just that, can be used for a variety of things, assemblies, small productions, that kind of thing. There's general classrooms up here, aviation lab and suite in this corner. There's an art room here, and the gym right above that PE and fitness area I showed on the second floor. Moving to the north on the third floor, the engineering labs here. There's a pharmacy lab, and then some additional science labs, general classrooms. There's another collaboration space here, another teacher collaboration space here, and some additional office space here. So we'll move up to the fourth floor. So on the fourth floor, the large CTE space there is the cosmetology barbering lab in the middle here. There's also a clean lab up in this corner, computer science rooms, and cybersecurity. Some generic classrooms here. The PEP suite is here. That's the MUPS below, and there are some kind of studio seating or stairs that go from the third level where the MUPS is located up to the fourth level. And that's really about it on the fourth floor. The fifth floor, as I mentioned, has an outdoor courtyard in the middle. We'll look at some renderings of that in a minute here. There's also a collaboration space adjacent to that. Digital photography, digital graphics are the two CTE spaces up there, and then you've got some additional kind of general classrooms and flex labs on that space. So zooming out real quick, just to show some of the renderings. Let me go back to the first floor. So this is that monumental stair that connects floor one to the second floor. You can kind of see the library up on the second floor. And this is the main reception area over here on the left with the main entry to the school directly out there. As you enter into the main lobby, that's the auto tech auto body. There's actually garage doors that open up into those spaces. We're rendering a car out here that you could actually drive out there and put in the kind of the main lobby. The dining commons with the kitchen area behind that green wall you see there. And then this is that north entry collaboration space that we looked at over here. Second and third floor, little rendering of that multi-use performance space. This is the floor, of course, and then this is the seating that goes up to the fourth floor from that space. Rendering of the gym, the library, and I forgot to mention, but right outside the culinary area is a small cafe. So that's that cafe space. And the library over here that you can see as well. And then levels 4 and 5 up the top here, this is that fifth floor courtyard. And right through these windows, you would see this collaboration space off the hallway on that fifth floor. This is the top of the multi-use performance space, the top of those stairs. So you can kind of see down into the stage area there. And then a quick rendering here of cosmetology and barbering. So that's really the presentation. If folks have questions, happy to address.
Steve, I had a question. If you can go to the exterior, the one where you showed the different streets, the
Yep.
where you were mentioning taking away the relocatables. Are we doing that right when the new building opens? I mean, there's no need for the relocatables once the building opens, correct? And that'll give us some
Yeah,
parking
that's
back?
absolutely. So as soon as we move the existing program over to the new in summer of this summer,
Mhm.
2026, yeah, those relocatables would go away and we would regain the parking in that parking lot. The
Until we
stat
build the garage.
Until we build the garage. The
Right.
staff parking is a combination of the on-site surface parking as
Hmm.
well as the parking at the
The
ECDC
old,
garage
right,
across
that
Ninth
old.
Street.
Yep.
So we're trying to maintain 250 spaces. As we gain more spaces here when the relocatables go away, we would lessen the number of spaces we're leasing from ECDC, but we maintain
Got it.
250 throughout the project.
Got it. That's what I thought. Okay. So it's not that we do and then I don't know if you can speak to this either. All of the confusion of are we tearing down the Montessori and swapping them over to the ACC building at
Right.
some point? There's sort of confusion in that regard too, and formatting the ACC building to house elementary students. Do,
Yep.
do you know
So
about that?
So I can speak to that a little bit.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, that's really a decision that the school board still needs to formalize and
Right.
make and give us direction to proceed on. We have studied the existing ACC building to do a fit out for the MPSA program. And there's a couple options we've looked at and we've forwarded information to the board about that. Um, when we were doing the use permit process for the whole campus, the board at that time seemed very amenable to doing just that, to renovating ACC for MPSA, knocking down MPSA, turning all this into green space.
Hmm.
Um, the current board may have a different disposition. I can't really speak to that, but we'll act at the direction of the board at the appropriate time when they give us direction.
Because I thought that was going to be the field. So you're saying if it does happen, then it's going to just go back to green space, as in like a park or?
Well, I think, what would happen if the board does give us direction to renovate existing ACC, knock MPSA down, and redevelop this corner of the site, we would have to go through a public use permit process,
Mhm. Mhm.
decide exactly what that was going to look like.
Gotcha.
Just as we
Long
did
time
for
coming.
Yeah, exactly. Just as we did for this existing project. But what I can say definitively is that the future disposition of existing ACC and MPSA is above and beyond the scope of this particular project.
Hmm.
So that'll
Is
be a
And
that
future project.
little corner of green down there next to MPSA? It's right to the right. That. What's that?
Yeah, as a precursor activity to removing the old Fenwick building that was here and building the new ACC, we relocated the MPSA play areas kind of around
Mm,
the perimeter of the school here along 7th. So all of that would remain until such time as we have future direction on, MPSA and existing career center. Um, but if we did redevelop this corner of the site, undoubtedly all of that, that play area would go away and be reconfigured in some
that's
form or
their
fashion.
that's their current play area.
That's their current play
Okay,
area. Exactly
got it.
right. So they have the younger kids on the west side here, and then the older kids on the
Got it.
east side.
Got it. All right.
And I'm going to jump in with a few questions from the chat. We have a question about why the student lockers are on a different floor from the gym, and another question about where the woodworking room is.
Yep. So can answer those real quick. Let's start with the easy one on the woodworking. Let me blow this up again. Oops. So woodworking or carpentry is on the first floor. Bear with me for a minute. So that space is right here adjacent to the kitchen and kind of off that receiving area. So that'll be the woodworking area. The so one of the things during design and just the site itself, space is at a premium, especially first floor space. Generally, we would have built a school with a gym on the ground floor. I don't know if the reasons for that are obvious, but we do a lot of sharing of spaces with the county, Parks and Rec, whatnot. Folks do use our gyms. And so typically those spaces are on the first floor so that they're a little easier to segregate. In this case, there was a lot of desire to have some of these CTE spaces on the ground floor for greater visibility. And also for things like, the carpentry space construction, there's deliveries of materials that are just more easily done on the first floor, right? So real estate on the first floor was a premium. Real estate on all the floors, quite frankly, was a premium, but we didn't have the space to co-locate the gym and the locker rooms on the same floor. There are stairs here on each side of the gym that go directly from second floor where those locker rooms are directly up to the gym. So it's not a great distance. There's also an elevator right there that can get you from floor to floor there. So didn't think it was a great distance for kids to travel from the locker rooms to the gym.
Sure, warm up before PE.
There you go.
Thank you, Steve. And then there's two other questions now in the chat. One is, how does available classroom space in the new building compare to the existing building? And the second is the main stairway a floating stair? My concern is for students with disabilities accessing it, if it is.
So the main stair goes from, let me get the rendering back here. This goes from level 1 to level 2. There is an elevator directly across from the stair that accesses all 5 floors. Those elevators will be completely open to students and staff for use. So that shouldn't be an issue. I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Heidi, you're muted.
Apologies. The other question was, how does available classroom space in the new building compare to the existing building?
So the new building is certainly larger than the existing building. I believe I don't have the numbers off the top of my head for the existing. I believe it is 100,000, 150,000 square feet or so. The new building is about 260,000 square feet. So it is much bigger. It's
Who's gonna
beyond
pool school next year? It looks like it's gonna be nice.
what? Beyond the square footage comparison, I'm not sure how to answer your question. I mean, obviously there's more
Question is
classroom
really,
space, more science lab space.
my
I
question
don't
is
have
really to understand, are there similar numbers of classrooms and seating capacity for students, or is it, what percentage different is it from the current space? I get that the overall building is larger. It appears that some of the labs look, it's hard to tell without seeing all the dimensions, look smaller than in the current building. I'm trying to understand classroom capacity, apples to apples.
Yeah, and I don't have the space program for both schools in front of me to specifically answer that. We can get you guys that information if you'd like.
I think that
Uh,
would be very helpful, especially given recognizing this part's not in your purview, but given the proposals to add significantly additional student population into the building, trying to understand what the effect of that is on classroom capacity relative to
yeah,
the current state. Thank you.
yeah, we can certainly send out the space program for the new building. That's easily done.
Thank you so much, Steve. And then there's just two more additional questions. One is there a location for student lockers? And the other is the parking garage designed for teachers and students to park? Will there be enough spaces for the sort of projected population?
So we don't typically provide parking for students on site, or nor will we in the parking deck. That's really meant for staff. And that's meant for the staff for both facilities, both the new ACC or Grace Hopper Center, as well as MPSA. As long as Columbia Pike Library is there, there'll be some parking for them associated as well. In terms of the lockers, that's a great question. Off the top of my head, I honestly haven't focused on that. I can certainly get back to you with an answer on that, but off the top of my head, I don't have a good answer for you on that one.
Anecdotally, I don't think kids use lockers anymore.
I know we are providing some lockers, but I don't have the quantity or exactly where they're located. It's been a long time since I've focused on that particular aspect of the project.
The student athletes just normally need lockers to put
Hmm.
all of their sports stuff. So
Right. I think that's about the only population that
And
uses them. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that may be the only place we are providing them, but I need to double confirm that.
is there an area, I know that it's up in the air in terms of if additional programs are moving, but somebody had mentioned earlier that it seemed as though everybody, all the different programs were kind of sharing the same classrooms and that there wasn't that much of parameters of one program goes in one wing, another program goes into another, except for it looked like maybe PEP. Um, so if there are additional programs that come in, is there any space identified for those different programs?
So again, that's probably a bit above my purview to answer. What I can say is the building was built, and we try to build all of our new buildings in this fashion in a very flexible manner, right? So classrooms are kind of sized in a standard way. We provide dry labs, we provide wet labs. So there's a lot of flexibility in the floor plan if the program changes to accommodate a variety of programs. I mean, obviously, this school's a little bit more specialized because it does have some of the CTE shops like Auto Tech, Auto Body that would be hard to repurpose. But a lot of lot of the spaces that I mentioned here, like the science labs, the general classrooms, the clean labs, the wet labs, those are all very flexible spaces that could be used for a variety of programs. So again, it's above my purview to be able to answer specifically, if the Langston folks were moving over here, how would it get integrated? I think that's a bigger question. But again, the way the building is built, it can accommodate a lot of flexibility with regard to program.
So I think probably a final question, Steve, because I know that we're at time, but what is the number of students that the Grace Hopper building can accommodate?
So that's an interesting question. The building capacity is on the order of 1,600. The way the programs in here work with CTE and some of the other programs, I don't know what the effective capacity is, if that makes sense, just because you have some of these, specialty spaces. But the general capacity of the building, it was built for 1,600, which is kind of in alignment with our other high schools.
Thank you so
Can,
much.
can I ask a follow-on question about the parking? So you said that this one was just designed for basically predominantly the teachers and staffs to have parking for the various buildings, not just the Grace Harbor building, and not for the students. But does the other high schools offer parking for the students?
We don't build as a standard, we don't build parking for students. Now, Yorktown High School actually has a bit of parking for students that was built during a little bit different time, but generally APS does not provide on-site parking for students. There's just typically not enough real estate to do that. So this is
Yorktown
pretty
allots it to
close.
seniors. It's a lottery that they allot to
Yeah,
seniors. So it's a
right.
very, very privileged thing. They don't have much.
But I think Yorktown's one of the outliers. Typically, we do not provide parking for students on site.
Okay. Well, I think we're probably at time, Jody. Is that right?
Yes, and we have just a couple, maybe
Thank
even
you
just the
so
one
much.
slide left. Thank you so much for joining us, Steve. This was amazing. Got such a great sneak peek into the new building. We can't wait. So really appreciate you coming to talk to us tonight. I think just
My
our
pleasure.
last slide of the night was just the upcoming meetings for ATAC. We could pop that back up for everybody's info. I think I mentioned, I think February 12th is our next one, and that is off the Pike night. So maybe we will do something special. Yep, February 12th. That's off the Pike night. So maybe we will alter that a little bit, or everybody can rush home after off the Pike night and hop on the Zoom call. We'll TBD that. We'll see if we want to change that schedule up a little bit, but those are the rest of our calls for the rest of the year, and we'll keep you posted if those change. We'd like to do another social coming up pretty soon in the spring, another parent social. So stay tuned for that. And we appreciate you all coming tonight and joining us. And again, please join us next week for the working group session on the 14th. So thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good night.
Night.
Night all. Please join us next week if you're interested.